How's it going? I'm Ryan, and today I'm going to go over the one trade that I took on NQ. Before we get into the trade, I'm going to pull up higher time frame. We'll look at some of the levels I was watching today and go into why I was watching those and how that played into my trade today. So to get my levels off of the 8-hour time frame, I use the bid-ask volume chart on Trade-Evate. And then I downloaded a free indicator that displays the point of control for these 8-hour candles. That point of control, represented by this yellow line here, is the price at which the most volume occurred during this, whatever the candle period is, in this case 8 hours. So I use these high volume nodes as levels, and the reason being is that price is attracted to liquidity. Where there's low volume, such as you see a lot of volume at the top of this candle, not a lot of volume in between. Price can move quickly between those low volume areas to get to a next high volume area. So I use them as levels, targets, in terms of where I think price will pull back to, reach out to, etc. So not going to go over all these, but basically the gist of the story is, and I'll pull up an actual candlestick chart so we can look at it. We'll do that side by side here. So if I pull up like a 4-hour, we've been trending up. So I've been pretty bullish throughout this week as this uptrend has been continuing on a higher time frame. If on a higher time frame we are making higher highs and higher lows, chances are we're looking for long opportunities throughout the day because we are trending up. So coming into the day, we're thinking with a bias to the upside potentially until that trend changes, then we'll kind of adjust that. But until it gives us a reason to not expect it to trend upwards or close higher than the other previous day's high, that's the bias I'm going to come into it with. Now, with having sort of a long bias, you can see overnight we were in this price area in here. Most recently, we had this big gap down, right? We had this big gap down day. That's what this day was. And then we opened down here the following day. But when we had this big gap down, we created, like I said, a bit of a void in volume. And so I drew this level from this node here, this point of control from the previous candle prior to this big gap down, or the big sell-off day. And there's a lot of volume up here, which we would assume to be selling volume as it caused this big sell-off, right? So a ton of volume up here. We would expect that to be selling pressure as we see the result of that volume. Now, like I said, in between this node and this node, since price hasn't been back up into this region until recently, we don't have a lot of volume in between these levels, right? We have a lot of space. For example, like in here, we have a lot more tighter groupings of these points of control, right? We have more volume. We expect to see a bit more chop in this area because there's more volume being exchanged, more people buying and selling, less of an imbalance, likely, I guess, in that area where you have a lot of high volume in the same area. If I go to a chart, you're going to see that those areas, so like in here, a bit more choppy, right? We're not really making higher highs or lower lows. We're kind of moving horizontally. And then when we get a big move up to the upside or the downside, then those levels kind of spread out a bit. As you can see, when we made that big move up, we get those points of control are kind of more spread out. Same thing here, right? We have point of control here. We get a big move up. The next point of control is up here. So just something that I was watching is that we had a gap between these points of control, which makes me think the price is going to move through the range pretty easily if it has that momentum. So my plan going into the day was a break above this 790 level, which is this one right here. I wanted to see a break above 790, and then I wanted to see continuation to the upside. It was a little bit choppy today, and you'll see the trade that I took. It's exactly that. It's a break and retest of 790, hold, and look for continuation. We didn't get the response I expected, but nonetheless, it hit our first target and allowed us to have a pretty good day. So we opened, we're pretty choppy. This is kind of messy. There's a lot of levels in here, which I guess would make sense for the choppiness of the trading day. You see a lot of the point of controls of these 8-hour candles the past yesterday, overnight session, today, etc. all kind of in the same area. So we're going to see kind of choppy price movement, and we did. But we start off pretty bullish, came up and tested. This is the high value, or value area high, excuse me, from the overnight session. This is the value area low from the overnight session. This is the point of control from the overnight session. We have yesterday's high a day, and then these blue levels are all just from the 8-hour time frame. So whenever you get these blue levels kind of lining up with other levels, it makes sense, right? We expect that. That's where volume is. So these are all volume-based levels. Now, once we broke higher, broke out of this area, we pulled back to that point of control, held it pretty well, set a new high on the day, pulled back pretty seriously into this 790 level and yesterday's high a day. Held those with good volume. I'll pull up the 1 minute. I'll also pull up the volume profile of the 5 minutes so we can take a look. These are all things that kind of played into it. So we'll pull up the 5 minute here. Let me scale back and see where we are. Here we are. Beautiful. So I want to point out on this candle here, this big green candle that ultimately made us move higher into a new high on the day. One thing that I really like to see in bullish candles, and the opposite is true for bearish candles, is that point of control be at the bottom. If we make a big move to the upside, I want to see that point of control lower in the candle. That tells me that there was a ton of buying down there, and especially when it's at, like, this is right at that 790 level, you can see that volume that's present there. When we hold, or when we break higher on high volume, and that volume was lower in the candle, it tells me that there's a lot of people buying to press that volume, or press that price up quickly. And that's what I want to see if I want to see a price the upside. The opposite is true, right? Look at this candle, this big move down. We got a huge move down, and what's true? That all that volume was present at the top of that candle, right? And what's the result? We get a massive sell-off. So whenever you get these big moves, you'll see that as well, generally as well. This large move down, look at where the volume is. It's in the upper like third of the candle, upper fourth of the candle. And likewise, when we compare this candle to this one, right, we see this big move up, smaller candle, but still pretty bullish. But then we kind of stop out right here and reverse pretty quickly. And what do we notice? That volume shift, right? That volume is no longer in the bottom of the candle, it's at the very top. And that's the opposite of what you want to see. That's a good sign that price is on a pullback, or at least that you're facing some serious selling pressure. Otherwise, you know, that volume, if it was buying, would have pushed the price up. And I repeat this pretty much every video, but I want to nail this in because it's a big part of how I trade. But likewise, we broke higher, we pulled back into this level that I was watching. You see the point of control really start to set in right at that 790 level. And then you see that we're holding it, right? We test that level, we hold it. We test that level, we hold it. Yeah, we're way back here on the one. All right. Pull up the 1 minute. So we're setting higher highs and higher lows, right? This is a higher low here than we have here. This was a higher high here than we have here. So we're trending up. We're bullish on the day. We broke and retested this level that I was watching. I expect the price to move continuously to the upside to seek out that liquidity up above. So that was the plan. Like I said, we came down. We're watching the 1 minute. We see pretty good volume spikes. Good volume as we test and hold on this 1 minute candle. Good volume as we test and hold on a hammer there. As we start to kind of hold, and volume's dropping a little bit, picks up as we start to move up, and we're just kind of sitting and hanging out in this area, which is what I want to see. I want to see price come into this level. I want to see it kind of digest that move a little bit, right? If it's going to sell off, the price probably isn't going to just sit at this level for 10 minutes. But if it's going to bounce, you see buyers start to step in. You see that volume come in and lower on these candles. You see some bullish price reaction, etc. So I got in at 790 here. Basically, I was just watching price hold. We got the 5 minute close here. I entered on the following 5 minute candle. May have been a little early, but I wouldn't have wanted to enter after this, as we didn't get the move that I quite expected. But we did get 30 points. Took that first trim. I traded 5 contracts, so took 4 off at 30 points. I had a runner. I set the runner to like about 10 points of profit. I was going for high a day, and or not quite high day. I was going for 840, and the reason being is it was just this uppermost point of control. I expected that if there was a lot of selling volume up there, that price would likely return up into that area to get that volume before it did anything. And I was sort of right, just off by a little bit, right? It kind of hit these two nodes and didn't quite reach this one. It missed my take profit by 4 points. Take profit was 840. We hit like 836. So the idea was there. It just didn't quite get there. And we got a really nasty move down off of that. It looks like a news candle with the velocity that moved. Look at that 1 minute candle. It's from 834 to 754. That's 80, that's an 80 point move in 1 minute. It's pretty insane. Luckily I had my stop loss, my stop loss placed for my runner as it came down really fast and stopped me out. So overall on the day, we are up 260. We'll round that 80 cents up. That's close enough. We're up 260, account's up 906 on the account. So feeling pretty good. Still working towards that payout. The rest of the day, pretty choppy. We had some pretty volatile movements. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. Tomorrow's Friday. Quite a bit of news coming out, so it could be interesting. But that's all I got. Thank you for watching. I do stream live every day on the YouTube. Stop by if you want to check it out. If you want to say hi, you're always welcome. Appreciate you watching. Have a great day. Peace.